Welcome back to Midnight Affair Tales. Thank you for joining us.
The phone rang at 2:47 a.m., the kind of call that only brought bad news. Grayson Briggs sat up, gripping the sheets as the unknown number flashed across his screen. His pulse quickened. Calls at this hour were never good. He hesitated, then answered. "Mr. Briggs?" The voice was calm, professional, almost too neutral. "Who is this?" Grayson's voice was thick with sleep, but his instincts were already awake, alert. "This is Lieutenant Colonel Hargrove from the U.S. Navy. I regret to inform you that your brother, Landon Briggs, was killed in action yesterday during a covert mission overseas." Grayson froze. His breath caught in his throat. Landon? Dead? The words didn't make sense. They didn't fit into reality. His brother was a Navy SEAL, a warrior, a man built for survival. How the hell could Landon be dead? "That's not possible," Grayson said, his grip tightening on the phone. "You need to check again. I understand this is difficult, but his unit confirmed it. His remains were recovered. I'm sorry for your loss." Something felt wrong. Landon was always careful. He never took unnecessary risks. He never let himself be caught off guard. And the remains? Since when did Landon leave behind a body to be recovered? Grayson's fingers twitched. He could feel the old instincts kicking in, the ones that had kept him alive in combat, the ones that whispered, "This doesn't add up." "Where's the body?" he asked. "Classified." "What happened?" "That's classified too." That was it. Grayson knew something was off. A SEAL's death should come with details. There should be reports, eyewitness accounts, something tangible. But this was a closed door. And closed doors meant secrets. Grayson clenched his jaw. He wasn't going to just accept this. "Send me everything you have," he demanded. A pause. "I'm sorry, sir. That won't be possible." Then the line went dead. Grayson stared at the screen. No details. No explanations. No body. This wasn't an accident. Something had happened to Landon. And if the military wasn't talking, maybe someone didn't want him to know the truth. But Grayson wasn't the kind of man to let things go. And whoever was hiding the truth, they were about to have a serious problem. It rained on the day of Landon's funeral. A slow, miserable drizzle, as if the sky itself wasn't sure how to mourn. Grayson stood at the back of the cemetery, dressed in black, his face shadowed under the brim of his cap. He wasn't ready to be seen, not yet. Not until he understood. From a distance, he watched Vanessa Briggs, Landon's wife, play the role of a grieving widow. Too well. She dabbed her eyes with a tissue, her shoulders trembling. But something was off. Her movements were too precise. Her sobs, too measured. And then there was Derek Kane, Landon's best friend. A fellow SEAL, the man who had served beside him for years, standing way too close to Vanessa. Grayson's blood went cold as he watched Derek touch her back, a slow, possessive gesture. It lasted barely a second, but it was enough. They were too comfortable together. Vanessa turned her head slightly, just enough for Grayson to see it, the hint of a smirk. Not grief. Something else. The hairs on Grayson's neck stood up. He forced himself to remain still, watching as the funeral ended. People gave Vanessa their condolences. She cried at all the right moments. But the second the crowd started thinning, she did something that made Grayson's stomach drop. She laughed. Not loudly, not joyfully, just a brief moment of amusement at something Derek whispered in her ear. And then, without hesitation, she took his hand. Landon wasn't even in the ground yet, and she was already moving on. Grayson clenched his fists. His brother wasn't just dead. Something worse had happened, and he was going to find out exactly what. The apartment smelled like Landon. That sharp mix of cologne and gun oil, the sin of a soldier. Grayson let himself in with the spare key hidden under the porch light. He hadn't been inside since before Landon's deployment. It was exactly as his brother left it, neat, disciplined, precise. But Grayson wasn't here to reminisce. He was here to dig. Moving quickly, he started searching. Drawers, cabinets, hidden compartments. Landon had always been secretive, but there had to be something that could explain what had happened. Then he found it. A hidden phone taped under Landon's desk. Unregistered. Military-grade encryption. Grayson turned it on. His pulse spiked as he saw one unread message. Sent after Landon's supposed time of death. Phase 1 complete. Ready for the next? Grayson's breath hitched. What the hell did that mean? His brother had been killed. But this message meant someone had planned it. And worse, they weren't done yet. Grayson sat in his car, gripping the burner phone as the message stared back at him. Phase 1 complete. Ready for the next? Someone had planned this. Someone had ensured Landon wouldn't make it home. And now, they were moving to the next phase. Grayson's jaw tightened. What the hell was phase 2? He had to think like Landon. If his brother had figured something out, where would he hide proof? His fingers tapped the dashboard rhythmically as he thought. Then it hit him. The storage locker. Landon had always kept a second stash of classified files, weapons, and emergency supplies outside of his home. It was a SEAL habit, always have a backup. Grayson checked his watch. 1:15 a.m. Perfect. He pulled out of the parking lot and headed toward the industrial district. It was late. The streets were quiet, but he had learned long ago silence wasn't always safe. By the time he reached the storage facility, his pulse had settled into a slow, focused rhythm. He moved carefully, keeping to the shadows as he used the access code Landon had given him years ago. The lock clicked open. The doors slid up. Inside, the locker was packed with the expected: tactical gear, emergency cash, an untraceable pistol. But it was the black file folder on the top shelf that sent a chill down his spine. He flipped it open. Inside were photographs of Vanessa and Derek, together. Dates. Locations. Landon had been tracking them. Then, a final note, written in his brother's handwriting. They don't just want me gone. They need me gone. If I don't make it back, it's not an accident. Grayson exhaled sharply. His brother had known he was marked for death. And now? Grayson was next. Grayson sat in his car, gripping the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles turned white. They killed him. Vanessa and Derek hadn't just betrayed Landon, they had set him up to die. Grayson had seen war. He had watched men die. He had lost friends. But this was personal. And now it was time to play his own game. He pulled out his phone and scrolled through the hidden camera feed he had planted in Vanessa's house. It was time to listen. The screen lit up with live footage from her living room. Vanessa sat on the couch, a glass of wine in her hand, her legs crossed. Derek sat beside her, his arm draped lazily over her shoulder. Relax, Derek murmured. No one knows. It's done. Vanessa took a sip of her wine. You sure? Landon's gone, babe. It's over. Grayson's pulse pounded. They were so confident. So smug. He clenched his jaw, then exhaled slowly. No. Not yet. Not now. He wouldn't blow his cover. Not yet. But when he did, they wouldn't see it coming. Hey, you. Yes, you watching this right now. Before we move to the next part, let me ask you something. Where are you watching from? Drop your city in the comments. And if you're hooked so far, hit that like button and subscribe for the next part. Because trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. Alright, let's continue. Grayson had one goal tonight, to get close enough to Vanessa and Derek to see their next move. And that meant taking a risk. He pulled on a black hoodie, slipped a cap low over his face, and walked into the bar they frequented every Thursday night. The place was dimly lit, the air thick with cigarette smoke and the hum of conversations. His eyes locked onto them immediately. Vanessa sat at a corner booth, Derek beside her. They were laughing, drinking, celebrating. Grayson's blood boiled, but he forced himself to relax. He had to blend in. Moving to the bar, he ordered a whiskey and kept his head down, listening. It worked, Derek muttered, clinking his glass against Vanessa's. We're free now. Vanessa smirked, twirling her glass. No loose ends. None. Grayson took a slow sip of his drink, masking the rage bubbling inside him. They thought it was over. But they had no idea the storm was coming. The bar buzzed with low chatter, clinking glasses, and the occasional burst of laughter. But Grayson heard only them. Vanessa. Derek. Sitting there, smug, celebrating his brother's death. He turned his whiskey glass in his hand, keeping his head down. His pulse was steady, his breathing controlled, but inside, he was fire. They thought Landon was gone. They thought they were safe. They thought no one was coming for them. Grayson smirked. They were dead wrong. Derek leaned in closer to Vanessa, his voice dropping. Look, it's done, all right? There's nothing left to worry about. Vanessa swirled her drink, unconvinced. I don't like loose ends. There aren't any, Derek assured her. No one's asking questions. The body was dealt with. The payout's already in motion. Phase 1 is over. No one's coming back from the dead, babe. Grayson felt his fingertips tingle. His jaw clenched so tight it ached. No one's coming back from the dead. Is that what you think, Derek? The bartender walked past, and Grayson caught his reflection in the mirrored wall behind the bar. For a split second, he swore he saw Landon staring back at him. The same jawline, the same sharp, cutting stare, the same blood in his veins. And just like that, an idea struck him. They thought Landon was dead. What if, just for a little while, he wasn't? His grip tightened on his glass as a cold, calculated plan began to take shape in his mind. He wasn't just going to take them down. He was going to haunt them. Grayson moved through the city streets like a shadow. His mind was sharp, calculating every step, every angle. If he was going to turn into a ghost, it had to be perfect. No mistakes. No missteps. And the first step? Let them feel watched. He pulled up to Vanessa's house in the dead of night, parking a block away. The house was dark, the street silent. Perfect. Slipping on gloves, he moved through the yard without a sound. He'd done this before. Different places, different wars, but the method was always the same. Move with purpose. Leave no trace. He reached the side of the house, eyes flicking up to the security camera over the back door. He smirked. Amateurs. A quick spray of black paint on the lens, and it was blind. Then, the real work began. He placed a burner phone in Vanessa's mailbox, preset to call her personal number at 3:33 a.m. He slid a tiny listening device under the deck, perfectly hidden in the wood grain. And the final touch? He scratched one single word into the back window. Faint, barely noticeable unless you knew where to look. Why? Then he was gone. By the time Vanessa woke up, the game would already be in motion. 3:33 a.m. The shrill ring of Vanessa's phone cut through the silence. She sat up in bed, groggy, confused. Derek stirred beside her. Who the hell is calling this late? Vanessa grabbed her phone, staring at the unknown number. She hesitated. Answered. Silence. Hello, she whispered. Nothing. Then, in a voice that sounded like Landon's. Why? Vanessa's blood ran cold. She bolted upright, her breath coming fast. Who is this? Click. The line went dead. Her hands trembled as she stared at the phone. Derek frowned. What's wrong? I think I just heard Landon. Derek's face darkened. That's impossible. Vanessa swallowed. She forced herself to nod. Of course, it was impossible. Landon was dead. But still, her hands wouldn't stop shaking. And then a noise. A thump from outside. Both of them froze. Derek grabbed the pistol from the nightstand, moving toward the window. He pulled the curtain back. Nothing. Then his eyes narrowed. His breath hitched. What? Vanessa whispered. Derek stepped aside, letting her see. The back window. The faint, barely there scratch marks in the glass. Why? Vanessa screamed. Derek bolted for the door. Gun in hand, he ran through the house, checking every lock, every door. The house was empty. No forced entry. No broken windows. But someone had been here. Someone had gotten close enough to leave a message. Derek's pulse pounded. His hands were sweating. Who the hell was doing this? And then, before he could react, bang. A shot rang out. Derek hit the floor. Blood spilled across the carpet. Vanessa screamed, scrambling back against the bed. The front door stood wide open. The night air howled through the empty frame. The only thing left behind? A pair of muddy footprints leading into the darkness. The ghost had made his first move. The house was in chaos. Vanessa's screams echoed through the empty halls as Derek groaned on the floor, his hand clutching the bleeding wound in his shoulder. Someone's in the house, She shrieked, stumbling toward the phone. Her fingers trembled as she dialed 911. Derek's breathing was ragged. He pushed himself up against the bed, his face twisted in pain. "Shut up," he spat. "We don't call the cops. We handle this ourselves." Vanessa's hands shook, her heart racing. He was right. They couldn't call the cops. Not when they were both wrapped in Landon's murder. But then, who was this? Who had broken in? Who had left that message? And worst of all, who had sounded like Landon? Derek forced himself to his feet, grabbing his gun with his uninjured hand. No one gets into this house without leaving a trace. They're still close. Vanessa swallowed. Her mind screamed for her to run, but where? Then she noticed something, the back door. It was still wide open, swinging slightly in the wind. Someone had come in, and someone had left. But why hadn't they killed them? Vanessa exhaled shakily. "We need to get out of here," she whispered. "We need to leave." Derek's jaw clenched. He wasn't running. He'd spent too much time covering his tracks. If someone was coming for them, they had to be dealt with. But before he could move, a phone rang. Not Vanessa's. Not Derek's. It came from the living room. Slow. Persistent. A haunting, rhythmic chime in the silent house. Vanessa's skin crawled. Derek raised his gun. He walked forward, every step measured, every breath sharp. He picked up the burner phone resting on the coffee table. One message flashed on the screen. "Why did you do it?" Derek's hands went cold. The phone wasn't theirs. And someone was watching. Derek threw the burner phone against the wall, shattering it into pieces. His breath was ragged, fast. "It's a trick," he growled. "Someone's screwing with us." Vanessa wasn't so sure. Her heart pounded in her chest, and for the first time since Landon's death, she felt something she hadn't before: doubt. She grabbed Derek by his bloodied shirt, her nails digging into his skin. "You told me this was handled, that there were no loose ends." Derek shook her off, his eyes burning with frustration. "There aren't. Landon is dead." The room fell silent. The air felt thick, suffocating. Vanessa ran a hand through her hair, her eyes darting toward the window, toward the faint scratches still visible in the glass. Why? It wasn't possible. It wasn't. Landon was gone. She had seen the proof. Hadn't she? Her pulse thrummed in her ears. Then something else hit her. The security cameras. They had footage. They had to. She bolted toward the home office, pulling up the external camera feed on Derek's laptop. The recordings loaded. She fast-forwarded through the night. Her breath hitched. There. A shadow moving outside the house. A figure standing at the window. The quality wasn't perfect, but she could make out the shape: tall, broad shoulders, strong posture. It looked like, no. Her stomach twisted into knots. Her throat dried. The timestamp. 3:33 a.m. Exactly when the phone rang. Derek leaned in, his face pale. No way. It's someone dressed like him. That's all. Vanessa's fingers trembled as she pressed play. The figure stood at the window for a long time. Then, without warning, it turned to the camera. And for a split second, she saw it. The face. Landon's face. Vanessa slammed the laptop shut and staggered back. No. No, it's not real. It's not. But Derek? Derek wasn't speaking. For the first time ever, he looked scared. Outside, the wind howled. A tree branch scratched against the window. And somewhere, deep in the night, a man was watching. Waiting. And he wasn't done yet. Derek couldn't breathe. His shoulder ached from the gunshot, but that was the least of his concerns. Someone had been outside. Someone who looked like Landon. Vanessa wasn't handling it well. She was pacing, clutching her wine glass so tight it might shatter. We need to leave. Her voice wavered. Derek, we need to go. This is bad. We're not running, Derek snapped. That's exactly what they want. Vanessa turned to him, eyes blazing. You think this is a game? You think we should just sit here while some psycho wearing Landon's face hunts us? I think if we run, we look guilty. She exhaled sharply. He wasn't wrong. The money. The alibi. The carefully planned web of lies. If they ran, everything would fall apart. Vanessa clenched her fists. Then what do we do? Derek grabbed his phone, his jaw set. I'm calling Tyler. Her stomach twisted. No. No way. He's a damn psychopath, Derek. That's exactly what we need right now. Tyler was Vanessa's ex-con brother. A fixer. A problem solver. A man with no conscience. And if there was one thing Derek knew, you don't fight ghosts. You kill them. The line rang twice. Then Tyler picked up. Well, his voice dripped with amusement. Calling me in the middle of the night? What did you do, Kane? Kill another man you need buried? Derek clenched his teeth. We have a problem. Tyler laughed. Oh, I love problems. Someone's coming after us. A pause. Then, dark amusement. And let me guess, this someone ain't supposed to be alive? Derek's fingers curled around the phone. Can you handle it or not? Oh, I can handle it. Good. Meet me tomorrow. Same place. Click. Derek exhaled, shoving the phone into his pocket. Vanessa's face was pale. She didn't trust Tyler. Neither did Derek. But at this point, trust didn't matter. The only thing that mattered? Stopping whoever the hell was haunting them before it was too late. Vanessa's hands wouldn't stop shaking. She sat on the edge of the bed, her pulse racing, her mind replaying the moment over and over. The scratched message on the glass. The phone call. The figure on the camera. It wasn't possible. Landon was dead. And yet, someone had his face. His voice. His presence. Derek paced the room, his jaw tight, his injured shoulder stiff. His phone sat on the nightstand, waiting for Tyler's call back. We're being played, Derek muttered, running a hand through his hair. Someone is screwing with us, Vanessa. Vanessa shot up, her eyes wild. Screwing with us? Someone just walked into our house, left a message, and nearly killed you. Who the hell would do that? Derek turned toward the window, staring at the scratch marks. Maybe Landon knew something. Maybe someone is coming after us because of what we did. The words sent a shiver down Vanessa's spine. No one knows, Derek, she whispered. No one but us. Derek exhaled, but she could see it, the doubt creeping into his face. Vanessa clenched her fists. Tyler will handle it. Derek didn't answer. Instead, he picked up his phone and sent a message. Meet at 10. Don't be late. Then, without another word, he walked out of the room. Vanessa stood there, alone, staring at the broken pieces of glass on the floor. And for the first time, she wondered, what if Landon really was still alive? Grayson watched from across the street, hidden in the shadows. Vanessa stood in the window, staring out at the night. Her face was tight with fear. Good. She should be afraid. She should feel watched. Because she was. Grayson adjusted the earpiece connected to the bug he had planted under the deck. A faint crackling sound came through, followed by Vanessa's voice. What if he's alive? Derek scoffed. He's not. He's dead, Vanessa. Then who the hell is doing this? A pause. Then Derek's voice dropped. I don't know. Grayson smirked. They were starting to break. And breaking people made them sloppy. He shifted his stance, his eyes tracking the front door. Derek walked out, heading toward his car. Grayson had one chance. The second Derek pulled away, Grayson moved. Silent. Precise. He crossed the street, slipped into the yard, and crept up to the house. His gloved hands pressed against the back window, leaving behind faint smudges, just enough for Vanessa to notice later. Then he stepped back into the shadows. He wanted them paranoid. On edge. He wanted them to feel his presence even when he wasn't there. And most of all, he wanted them to wonder. Was Landon haunting them? Or was something much, much worse coming for them? Derek sat across from Tyler in a dimly lit warehouse, the air thick with the scent of oil and rust. Tyler smirked, leaning back in his chair, his tattoos visible under the dim light. So, someone's playing Ghost? That's hilarious. Derek clenched his fists. This isn't a joke. No. Tyler chuckled. Because from where I'm sitting, it sounds like you're scared. Derek was scared. But he wouldn't admit it. Can you handle it, or not? He snapped. Tyler's smirk didn't fade. Relax, Kane. I've taken care of worse. You want him dead. Derek hesitated. Because truth be told, he didn't know who him was. A copycat? A hacker? A real ghost? Find him first, Derek said. Then we talk about killing him. Tyler's eyes gleamed. Fine. But it's gonna cost you. Derek tossed a thick envelope of cash on the table. Just get it done. Tyler grinned. Consider it handled. Derek exhaled. This was going to end. Whoever was haunting them, whoever was playing this game, they were about to be hunted. But Derek had no idea that the real hunter was already watching, and his name was Grayson Briggs. Grayson watched from the rooftop across the warehouse, hidden in the shadows. Derek and Tyler sat inside, deep in conversation. The cash had already been exchanged, and Tyler was officially on the hunt. Grayson smirked. Let him hunt. He'd only find ghosts. He adjusted his high-powered camera, snapping photos of Tyler counting the money. This wasn't just a hit, it was a business transaction. Proof. Tyler was a problem solver, a fixer. And if he was on the payroll, that meant Vanessa and Derek were getting desperate. Good. Desperate people made mistakes. Grayson leaned forward, adjusting the earpiece connected to the hidden mic he'd planted on Derek's car earlier that night. I'll find whoever's doing this, Tyler said. His voice was cocky, overconfident. And when I do, they disappear. Grayson's smirk widened. Tyler thought he was the predator, but he was just another target. And Grayson? Grayson was the storm that was coming. Tyler worked fast. Within 24 hours, he had contacts looking for answers. Grayson followed him, watching from the darkness. Tyler met with a man in an underground club, a hacker, someone who could trace calls, break into security systems, and dig into anything digital. Grayson knew this game. He had played it before, which was why he was already 10 steps ahead. Inside the hacker's system, Grayson had left a message. As soon as they tried tracing his burner phone, the screen flashed, "Try again." Tyler frowned. The hacker looked confused. He tried again. This time, the screen flickered and a single word appeared. Run. The hacker paled. What the hell is this? Tyler snapped. The hacker shook his head. Man, I don't know who you're messing with, but this isn't normal. Whoever this is, they're already inside my system. Tyler's jaw tightened. He wasn't hunting just anyone. He was hunting a ghost. And ghosts? They don't leave tracks. Vanessa sat in the dimly lit kitchen, staring at her half-empty wine glass. She could feel it now. The noose tightening. Something was wrong. Terribly wrong. Derek was acting strange. Jumpy. On edge. Tyler wasn't giving updates, and Derek refused to tell her anything. Vanessa clenched her jaw. She had trusted Derek. She had trusted Tyler. But now, she didn't trust anyone. She grabbed her phone and did something she hadn't done since this nightmare started. She texted her own source. I need information. Now. A few minutes later, her phone vibrated. She opened the message, and her heart stopped. A photo. Derek. Meeting with someone. Not Tyler. Another man. A government official. Vanessa felt the room spin. Derek was hiding something from her. The man in the photo? She knew him. He was the same man who had paid them to get rid of Landon. Vanessa's blood ran cold. Derek had gone behind her back. He wasn't just trying to clean up the mess. He was making deals for himself. Vanessa set down her glass, her fingers tightening around the stem. Derek thought he was in control. But Vanessa had always been the smarter one. She wasn't about to let another man betray her. Listen up, everyone. I see you watching this. Yeah, you. Let me ask you something. Where are you from? Drop your city in the comments. Let's see who's here. If you're hooked, smash that like button. If you want more, hit subscribe. Tell me, who do you think will betray who first? Vanessa or Derek? Because trust me, the next part is going to get wild. Vanessa gripped her phone so tightly her knuckles turned white. The photo didn't lie. Derek had been meeting with the same man who had hired them to take out Landon. That wasn't cleanup. That was business. Her pulse hammered in her ears as she paced the kitchen, her mind racing through possibilities. Was Derek planning to cut her out? To set her up? The thought sent a chill down her spine. She had trusted him, had risked everything for him. And now he was keeping secrets? No. Vanessa had spent her whole life making sure she was never the one left in the dark. She grabbed her keys and her coat. She needed to find out what Derek was hiding. Derek sat in his car, parked outside a rundown motel, watching the rain streak down his windshield. His shoulder throbbed from the gunshot wound, but he ignored it. Inside the motel room, the government official sat waiting. Derek exhaled, adjusted his jacket, and walked in. The man glanced up from his glass of whiskey. "You're late. I had to make sure I wasn't followed." The man chuckled. "Paranoid? Huh? You should be." Derek took a seat. "I need to know something. Did you send someone after me?" The man arched a brow. "Why would I?" Derek clenched his jaw. "Because someone's screwing with us. They know things they shouldn't. They know what we did to Landon." The man set his glass down. "Then you have a bigger problem than me." Derek's stomach tightened. The man leaned forward, his voice dropping. "Because if someone knows, it's not from me. Which means you're dealing with someone who has nothing to lose." Derek swallowed hard. He had a sinking feeling he already knew who that was. Grayson was patient. He sat in his car, a block away from the motel, watching as Derek left the meeting. His fingers drummed against the steering wheel. He was close now. Derek was unraveling. He was grasping for control, but losing it fast. And Vanessa? She was about to learn that trusting a man like Derek had been her worst mistake. Grayson exhaled and checked the gun strapped under his jacket. He didn't plan to use it yet. Not yet. There were still a few more pieces left to move. He followed Derek's car from a distance, his headlights off, letting the darkness swallow him. Derek drove toward the outskirts of town, toward an old warehouse Vanessa had used before for money drops. Grayson smirked. Bingo. Derek pulled inside. Grayson parked down the road, got out, and moved toward the building silent as death. He found a side entrance, barely making a sound as he slipped in. Inside, Derek was pacing, talking into his phone. "You need to find him now," Derek hissed. "I don't care what it takes. This ends tonight." Grayson stayed in the shadows, listening. Then, movement behind him. Grayson's instincts screamed, too late. A figure grabbed him from behind, slamming him into the wall. Grayson twisted, striking hard, but the man was strong. He barely managed to break free when he recognized the voice. Well, Tyler drawled. "Look what we caught." Grayson's mind worked fast. Tyler, the wild card. Derek must have hired him to track the ghost. And Tyler, being the ruthless fixer he was, had done his job. Grayson exhaled, wiping the blood from his mouth as he smirked. "Took you long enough." Tyler chuckled. "Derek's freaking out, you know. Running around like a headless chicken. You've got him real spooked." Grayson shrugged. "That's the idea." Tyler tilted his head. "And what's the endgame?" "Huh? You just haunting them? Or you planning to spill some blood?" Grayson's eyes darkened. "Why do you care?" Tyler smirked, tossing a knife between his hands. "Because if you want Derek dead, you've got competition." Grayson's brow furrowed. "Vanessa." Tyler's grin widened. "Bingo. She found out about his little side deal." "And Vanessa?" "Oh, she doesn't like sharing power." Grayson absorbed the information fast. Derek had double-crossed Vanessa. Vanessa was about to strike. And Tyler? Tyler didn't care who won, as long as he got paid. Grayson smirked. "Sounds like things are getting messy." Tyler chuckled. "Oh, they're about to get a whole lot messy, eh?" Grayson's pulse thrummed. It was time. Time to push the pieces into checkmate. Because by the time this was over, only one of them would be left standing. Vanessa stood by the window, staring into the dark. Derek had betrayed her. She had helped him. She had given up everything for him. Her husband, her security, her peace. And now? Now he was making deals behind her back. The rage in her chest burned deep. She reached for her wine glass, but didn't drink. Her thoughts were too sharp, too clear. Tyler had told her everything. Derek had been meeting with the very people who had hired them to kill Landon. That meant only one thing. Derek was trying to cut her out. She clenched her fists. Not a chance. Vanessa had been through hell to get to where she was. She wasn't about to let some arrogant, power-hungry bastard erase her. She picked up her phone and dialed. Tyler answered on the second ring. "Tell me," she said, her voice low, controlled. "He's moving. Late-night meeting at the docks." "Alone?" Vanessa smirked. "Perfect. Handle it," she ordered. "Make sure he never makes it back." A pause. Then Tyler chuckled. Damn, Vanessa. I like the sight of you. She hung up, tossing the phone onto the table. This was survival, and she intended to win. Derek pulled his coat tighter against the cold wind as he stepped onto the docks. His heart was pounding, but he kept his face unreadable. The ocean was black, stretching out into the abyss. The meeting point was up ahead, a small, abandoned warehouse on the waterfront. Something felt off. The text had come from an unknown number, but he knew who it was. Vanessa. She had found out, and she was testing him. Derek was many things, but stupid wasn't one of them. He had spent the last 10 years working his way into power, making sure no one had leverage over him. If Vanessa thought she could take him down, she had another thing coming. He pulled his gun from his waistband and stepped inside the warehouse. Silence. His breath came out in clouds, the air sharp and frigid. The dim overhead light flickered, casting long shadows across the concrete floor. And then, a voice. Derek Kane. Derek froze. The voice wasn't Vanessa's. It was Tyler's. Slowly, Derek turned. Tyler stood by the far wall, twirling a knife between his fingers. His grin was wide, too amused. Didn't expect me, huh? Tyler smirked. Vanessa sends her regards. Derek's stomach dropped. He had walked into his setup. Derek acted fast. He raised his gun, aiming at Tyler's chest. But Tyler was quicker. He dodged to the side, his movement swift, controlled. Derek fired. The shot echoed through the warehouse. Mississippi Tyler's laugh bounced off the walls. Damn, man. You're panicking. Derek backed up. His mind raced. He had to get out. Tyler was playing with him, enjoying the hunt. That meant he wasn't here to kill him quick. Good. That gave Derek a chance. He turned sharply, sprinting toward the exit. A knife whizzed past his ear, barely missing him. It clattered against the wall. Derek pushed through the door and ran toward his car. His keys, where the hell were his keys? Behind him, footsteps. Fast. Closing in. Derek's pulse hammered. He spotted a metal pipe by the dumpster and grabbed it, swinging wildly as Tyler lunged. The pipe connected with a sickening crack. Tyler stumbled back, grinning through the pain. That all you got? He taunted. Derek didn't wait. He ran. His only goal? Survive the night. Because if Vanessa wanted him dead, she'd have to do it herself. Derek ran like hell. His breath was ragged, his legs burned, and his injured shoulder throbbed with every step. But stopping? Stopping meant death. Tyler was behind him, somewhere in the shadows, playing the long game. He could almost hear his cocky voice ringing in his ears. You can't outrun me, Kane. Derek spotted his car at the edge of the docks. His only way out. His fingers fumbled through his jacket pocket. Keys. Where the hell were his damn keys? A sound. Footsteps. Fast. Closing in. Derek's pulse skyrocketed. His instinct screamed, move. He dived behind a stack of rusted shipping containers, pressing himself flat against the cold metal. His breath came in short bursts, but he forced himself to stay quiet. Then a low chuckle. Running already? Kane? Tyler. Close. Derek's grip tightened around the metal pipe still in his hands. He wasn't going to die in some abandoned warehouse. He peeked around the corner. Tyler was walking slowly, spinning his knife between his fingers, enjoying the hunt. Derek's fingers curled around a rock. He waited. One breath. Two. Then he threw it. The rock clattered to the left, distracting Tyler for just a second. That was all Derek needed. He lunged. The pipe swung. Crack. Tyler grunted as the blow landed against his ribs. Derek didn't stop. He slammed the pipe down again, hard, brutal, merciless. Tyler hit the ground. Derek ran. He reached his car, yanked open the door, and shoved the key into the ignition. The engine roared to life. He slammed on the gas. As he sped away, his mind was already racing to the next problem. Vanessa. She had tried to kill him. No? It was his turn. Vanessa poured herself a drink, trying to calm the storm inside her. The plan had been perfect. Tyler was supposed to take care of Derek. Clean. Efficient. But no call. No confirmation. That meant one of two things. Either Derek was dead, or Tyler had failed. And if Tyler had failed, then Derek was coming for her. She took a slow sip of wine, staring at her reflection in the glass. She wasn't afraid. She had survived worse. Landon had been a challenge. Derek? Derek was just a mistake that needed cleaning up. She pulled out her gun from the drawer, checking the magazine. Loaded. Ready. The front door was locked. The security system armed. If Derek wanted her dead, he'd have to step into her trap. She smirked. Let him come. Derek parked 2 blocks away, his heart pounding. Vanessa's house stood quiet in the dark. Too quiet. He had underestimated her before. Not this time. He reached into the glove compartment, pulling out a gun. 1 bullet. 1 chance. He moved toward the house, keeping low. Silent. Invisible. He reached the back door. Locked. Expected. He glanced up, a window slightly open on the 2nd floor. Derek smirked. Amateur mistake. With careful precision, he climbed up the side, grabbing the window ledge. He pulled himself inside, landing in the darkened hallway. Then a click. He froze. A cold metal barrel pressed against the back of his head. Vanessa's voice was smooth, amused. You never were very smart, Derek. Derek didn't move. Vanessa stood behind him, her gun pressed against his skull. He had to act fast. Go on then, he said, voice calm despite the rage burning inside him. Pull the trigger. Vanessa's finger tightened on the trigger. Derek moved. Fast. He twisted, grabbing her wrist and slamming her against the wall. The gun fired, a deafening crack in the silent house. The bullet missed. Vanessa lashed out, kicking him in the ribs. Derek stumbled but didn't fall. He grabbed the gun, twisting it out of her grip. They stood there, panting, staring at each other. Years of lies. Of betrayal. Of blood. You tried to kill me, Derek growled. Vanessa wiped the blood from her lip, smirking. So did you. Derek raised the gun. Vanessa didn't flinch. Go on then, she whispered. Be a man for once. Derek's jaw clenched. His finger hovered over the trigger. But before he could fire, the front door burst open. A shadow moved in. A voice. Cold. Deadly. Don't mind me. Vanessa and Derek froze. Grayson Briggs stepped into the room, gun in hand, smiling. I just came to watch. The room stood frozen. Derek had his gun raised at Vanessa. Vanessa stood defiant, her breath heavy, her hands clenched. And Grayson? He stood in the doorway, calm, amused, deadly. Derek's eyes darted toward him, calculating. He knew. Landon, Derek said slowly, gripping the gun tighter. Or should I say, Grayson? Grayson smirked. Smart. Took you long enough. Vanessa's breath caught in her throat. Her face paled. She turned, staring at Grayson as if she'd seen a ghost. No. No, she stammered. Dead. Grayson finished. He took a slow step forward. Guess not. Vanessa took a step back. Fear. Real fear. She had been fine playing this game when she thought she had control. But now? Now she was facing the one thing she never saw coming. Grayson glanced at Derek's gun, still pointed at Vanessa. Well, don't let me stop you. You were about to kill each other. By all means, continue. Derek hesitated. His mind was racing. He had thought Vanessa was the biggest threat. But now? Now, the real monster had arrived. What do you want? Vanessa whispered. Grayson smiled. Justice. A long silence. Then Derek moved. He turned the gun toward Grayson, finger on the trigger. Wrong answer, Grayson muttered. He fired first. The bullet tore through Derek's hand. The gun clattered to the floor. Derek screamed in pain. Vanessa gasped, stumbling backward. Grayson took a slow step forward, his own gun still raised. You tried to kill my brother, Grayson said softly. Now it's your turn. Blood dripped onto the floor. Derek clutched his ruined hand, his face twisted in pain. You son of a, he panted. Grayson kicked the gun away from Derek's reach. He had all the power now. Vanessa's mind raced. This wasn't how things were supposed to go. She was supposed to win. Not Derek. Not Grayson. Her. She needed an out. She glanced toward the door. Too far. She glanced at the kitchen knives. Grayson caught the look and chuckled. Don't even think about it, he warned. Vanessa's hands curled into fists. What do you want, Grayson? What do you want from me? He stared at her for a long moment, then turned his gun toward Derek. I want to hear the truth. Derek laughed bitterly, wincing at the pain in his hand. You already know the truth, man. Say it. Grayson's voice was like steel. Derek clenched his jaw. A long, agonizing silence stretched between them. Then, finally, Derek spoke. Vanessa planned it first. Vanessa's head snapped toward him. What? Derek licked his lips, his body trembling. She came to me. She wanted Landon gone before he could divorce her. She told me he had money, insurance. She told me if we worked together, we could take him out and split it. Grayson's grip on the gun tightened. Vanessa's breath quickened. She could feel the walls closing in. You liar, she shrieked. You were the one who said we had to finish the job. Grayson just watched. You were the one who hired the hitman. Vanessa screamed. Because you told me to. Derek snapped. Grayson let out a slow breath. So you admit it, he said. You both had my brother killed. Derek swallowed hard. Vanessa's entire body shook. Grayson, please, she started. Save it, Grayson said, his voice sharp. His gun lifted. And Vanessa knew. This was it. The house was silent. Only the sound of Vanessa's ragged breathing filled the air. Grayson stood there, his gun trained on her. You don't have to do this, Vanessa whispered. Grayson didn't move. Derek, bleeding out on the floor, barely conscious, let out a weak chuckle. Go on then, he rasped. Finish it. Grayson's finger hovered over the trigger. Justice or revenge? That was the choice. One shot, one bullet, and it would all be over. Then, Grayson lowered the gun. Vanessa's breath hitched. Derek's eyes widened. No, Grayson said softly. No, Vanessa whispered. Grayson's gaze was cold. Empty. You don't get to die easy, he said. Vanessa felt her stomach drop. You think a bullet is punishment? You think death is the worst thing that could happen to you? Derek gulped. Grayson leaned in, lowering his voice to a whisper. I'm not killing you. He smiled. Cruel. Dangerous. I'm going to let the world destroy you instead. Vanessa's face paled. She knew. Grayson had everything. The confessions. The proof. The recordings. And now, he was going to make sure the world saw them for what they really were. Vanessa stumbled back. Grayson, she started. But he was already walking away. He didn't need to pull the trigger, because their lives were already over, and he was going to enjoy watching them burn. Grayson stood in the shadows of his motel room, watching the screen glow in front of him. The video file was ready. Derek's confession. Vanessa's betrayal. The truth about Landon's murder. Everything was there. And in one click, the world would see them for who they really were. He exhaled slowly. His heart should have been racing, but it wasn't. There was no hesitation, no doubt. He picked up his phone and sent a single message. Upload it. A second later, the video went live. Derek woke up to the sound of his phone exploding with notifications. His body ached. His hand was bandaged, still throbbing from the gunshot wound. His head pounded. But none of that mattered, because something was wrong. He grabbed his phone, blinking against the bright screen. Hundreds of messages. His heart stopped. Murderer. Landon's blood is on your hands. How does it feel to be exposed? Derek froze. His stomach twisted as he clicked the video link flooding his inbox. And then he saw it. His own voice. His own words. His confession. Vanessa planned it first. She told me we could split the money. We had to finish the job. Derek felt sick. This wasn't just a leak. This was a death sentence. Vanessa's scream echoed through her empty house as she threw her phone across the room. The screen cracked, but it didn't matter. The damage had already been done. She could see the video playing on the TV screen in front of her, her own face staring back at her. You were the one who hired the hitman. Because you told me to. It was everywhere. News outlets. Social media. Even her old friends were calling, demanding answers. Her hands shook. She needed to fix this. She grabbed her coat and keys. Derek. She had to get to Derek before it was too late. Because now, they weren't just running from Grayson. They were running from the whole damn world. Derek sat in his car, gripping the steering wheel so hard his knuckles turned white. The city was turning against him. His face was on every news channel. His bank accounts were frozen. The people he had worked with, the ones who had paid for Landon's death, had gone silent. He was a dead man walking. He had to get out. Now, his mind raced through options. He needed a way out of the country. Mexico, maybe South America, somewhere where the money still meant something. He reached for his phone, dialing a number he hadn't used in years. The line clicked. A woman's voice answered. "I was wondering when you'd call." "I need an exit," Derek said, his voice rough. A pause. Then, a soft chuckle. "Oh, Derek, you still don't get it, do you?" Derek's stomach dropped. "You're not leaving." Then the call ended. Derek stared at his phone, his heartbeat pounding in his ears. No, this wasn't happening. He still had time. But when he looked up, his blood ran cold. A car was parked down the street, its engine running, its headlights dim, waiting, watching. For him. Derek's body froze. Then, a sharp knock on his window. Vanessa. Her face was pale, panicked. "We have to go," she hissed. Derek stared at her for a second. Then he opened the door. Because now? Now, they had no one but each other. And they were both running out of time. The streets were a blur of neon lights and endless roads. Vanessa drove, her hands gripping the wheel so tightly she thought her fingers might snap. Derek sat beside her, silent, his face tense. They were hunted now. Not just by Grayson. By everyone. "We need a plan," Derek muttered. Vanessa's jaw clenched. "You think I don't know that?" Her mind raced. There was one last option. One last play. "We get to Tyler," she said. "He can get us out." Derek stared at her. "You really trust him?" Vanessa didn't answer. Because the truth was, she didn't. But Tyler was the only one who had connections. And right now, they needed a way out. She took a sharp turn, heading toward the only place she knew he'd be. But she never saw the car following them. And inside that car, Grayson sat in the driver's seat, watching them go. This was it. The final stretch. And they had nowhere left to run. The air inside the car was thick with tension. Vanessa's knuckles were white against the steering wheel, her foot pressing harder on the gas. The city blurred past them, neon lights flashing like warning signs. Derek sat beside her, checking the magazine in his gun. For bullets left. "We don't have time," Vanessa snapped. Derek shot her a glare. "We don't have options either." Tyler was their only chance. If anyone could get them out of this mess, it was him. But there was a problem. Tyler was the kind of man who followed the money. And right now, Derek and Vanessa weren't worth much. Vanessa's thoughts raced. Their accounts were frozen. Their faces were plastered on every news outlet. The police weren't even the real threat. It was the people they had once worked for. The kind of people who didn't leave loose ends. Derek's jaw clenched. "Are you sure about this?" Vanessa hesitated. "No." But what other choice did they have? She took a sharp turn, the tires screeching against the pavement. Tyler's hideout was just ahead. If he was on their side, they had a chance. If not, then this night was their last. The warehouse stood in the shadows, silent, waiting. Vanessa pulled the car up, cutting the engine. Derek exhaled. "We do this fast." She nodded. Together, they stepped out, their bodies tense, their hands close to their weapons. The metal door groaned as Derek pushed it open. Inside, Tyler sat at a rusted table, feet propped up, spinning a knife between his fingers. He looked amused. Well, look who's still breathing." Vanessa's pulse spiked. Derek didn't waste time. "We need a way out." Tyler smirked. "Of course, you do. That little video of yours? Man, the whole damn world wants your heads." Vanessa swallowed. "We need passports. A flight. A clean slate." Tyler tilted his head. "And what exactly are you paying me with?" Silence. Derek's grip on his gun tightened. "We'll figure it out. Just get us out of here." Tyler exhaled, rubbing his jaw. "I could." A pause. Then his smirk widened. "Or, I could sell you out." Vanessa's stomach dropped. Derek stiffened. Tyler leaned forward. "See, the people looking for you? They're willing to pay a lot more than you ever could." Vanessa saw it before Derek did. The gun under the table. Tyler's fingers curling around it. Everything slowed. She moved first. A flash of movement, she kicked the table, flipping it over. Tyler fired, a bullet slicing through the air. Derek tackled him, wrestling for the gun. The warehouse erupted in chaos. Vanessa grabbed a crowbar from the ground, swinging it. It connected with Tyler's ribs. He grunted, stumbling back. Derek didn't hesitate. He grabbed the fallen gun and fired. The shot echoed through the warehouse. Tyler's body hit the ground. Blood pooled beneath him. Vanessa's chest heaved. Derek stood over Tyler's body, breathing hard. Well, he muttered. That went to hell fast. Vanessa swallowed. This wasn't over. They still had to run. And now? Now, they were out of time. Grayson watched it all. From his position on the rooftop across the street, he had seen everything. The way Vanessa and Derek had stormed in. The way Tyler had tried to betray them. The way Derek had pulled the trigger first. Grayson exhaled, rolling his shoulders. Guess I don't have to kill him after all, he muttered to himself. He lifted his sniper rifle, peering through the scope. His crosshairs locked onto Derek. He could end it now. One shot. One bullet. But, no, not yet. He let the gun lower. They were scrambling now. Running. Desperate. That's what he wanted. Because the best kind of revenge wasn't just death. It was fear. It was knowing your time was almost up, and not knowing when the final blow would land. Vanessa and Derek ran to the car, peeling out of the lot. Grayson didn't follow. Instead, he reached for his phone and dialed. A voice answered. It's done. Grayson smirked. Not yet. Then what's the next move? Grayson glanced at the warehouse below. The body of Tyler growing cold on the floor. Let them run, he said. Let them think they have a chance. He turned away from the scope, stepping into the shadows. Because the second they feel safe? His smile darkened. That's when I'll end it. The car roared down the empty highway. Vanessa gripped the wheel, her heart pounding against her ribs. Derek sat beside her, pressing his bloodied hand against his side, his breath ragged. Tyler was dead. The one person who could have gotten them out of this mess was now lying in a pool of his own blood. And now? Now, they were completely alone. Where are we going? Derek grunted, shifting in his seat. Vanessa's grip tightened. We need to disappear. Derek let out a bitter laugh. Disappear? In case you haven't noticed, Vanessa, we're the most wanted people in the damn country. He wasn't wrong. The video Grayson had leaked had set the world on fire. The news cycle wouldn't stop. Their faces were everywhere. Murderers. Traitors. The whole city wanted them gone. And worse, Grayson was still out there. Vanessa knew he was watching. Waiting. She could feel it. Then we don't go underground, she muttered. We go big. Derek frowned. What the hell does that mean? Vanessa's jaw set. We make a deal. She swerved onto an exit, heading toward the city. A deal with who? Derek growled. Vanessa's hands trembled on the wheel. With the same people who hired us to kill Landon. The building was tall, glass reflecting the neon skyline. A place of power. A place where people made decisions that ended lives. Vanessa and Derek stepped inside. They looked like ghosts. Dirt. Blood. Desperation. The receptionist's eyes widened when she saw them. We have a meeting, Vanessa said flatly. The woman hesitated, then nodded. Because this wasn't a place where people asked questions. Moments later, they were in an elevator, rising to the top floor. Derek shifted beside her. Are you sure about this? No, not even a little. But they had one shot. Either they convinced the people who had set this game in motion that they were still valuable, or they were dead. The elevator doors slid open. A conference room. A long table. And at the head of it, the man who had hired them. The one who had ordered Landon's death. He smiled as they entered. Vanessa. Derek. He gestured for them to sit. You've caused quite a mess, haven't you? The silence was suffocating. Vanessa and Derek sat across from the man who controlled everything. A man who had the power to kill them with a single word. We need protection, Vanessa said, keeping her voice steady. The man chuckled. Protection? He leaned back. You had protection. You had power. And yet, here you are. Desperate. Weak. Derek's fists clenched under the table. We can still be useful, Vanessa said quickly. You think we're a liability, But we can fix this. We just need time. The man studied her. Then he sighed. Vanessa. Derek. He shook his head. Do you really think I would let you walk away from this? Vanessa's blood ran cold. Derek tensed. The man raised a hand. You were never meant to survive this. The door behind them clicked. Vanessa's pulse spiked. Footsteps. Guards. They had walked straight into a trap. The man sighed again, almost pitying. You've been running in circles. But this is where it ends. Derek reached for his gun. Vanessa's breath shook. And then the lights cut out. Darkness swallowed the room. And a voice echoed through the shadows. No. Vanessa's stomach dropped. This ends when I say it does. The emergency lights flickered on. And standing in the doorway, gun in hand, cold fury in his eyes, Grayson Briggs. The room froze. Vanessa's breath hitched. Derek's fingers twitched toward his gun. The guards hesitated, shifting uneasily. And Grayson? Grayson stood in the doorway, calm, unshaken, deadly. The dim emergency lights cast long shadows across his face. His gun was steady in his hand, his eyes locked on the man who had orchestrated Landon's death. I was hoping you'd show up, the man at the head of the table said, voice smooth, unreadable. You've been quite a problem, Mr. Briggs. Grayson smirked. I specialize in that. Vanessa's heartbeat pounded in her ears. This was it. No more running. No more waiting. The man sighed, leaning back in his chair. You're very good, Grayson. But let's be honest here. You've already won. Grayson raised an eyebrow. Look around you, the man continued. Derek and Vanessa? They're finished. The world already knows what they did. You don't need to kill them. You don't even need to kill me. Vanessa swallowed hard. Derek didn't move, his jaw clenched. Just walk away, the man offered. Let time do the rest. Grayson tilted his head, considering, thinking, calculating. Then he smirked. No. And he pulled the trigger. The room exploded into chaos. The first bullet ripped through the man's chest. He let out a gurgled gasp, his body slumping over the table. The guards reacted instantly. Gunfire erupted. Vanessa dived under the table, heart hammering. Derek rolled, grabbing his own gun. Grayson moved fast, precise, brutal. A second shot, one guard dropped. A third, another body hit the floor. Derek fired wildly, missing. Grayson didn't. The next bullet caught Derek in the leg. He screamed, collapsing to the floor. Blood pooled around him. Vanessa pressed herself against the wall, her mind spinning. This was it. This was how it ended. Grayson took a slow step forward, his gun aimed directly at Derek's head. I could have let time handle you, Grayson said. But I think you deserve worse. Derek spat blood, his breathing labored. Do it, he growled. Just get it over with. Grayson exhaled. Then he lowered the gun. No, he said. You don't deserve a quick death. He turned to Vanessa. She flinched. But you? Grayson's eyes were cold, calculating. I think you deserve a choice. Vanessa's pulse stuttered. You can run, Grayson said softly. Or you can end this. Vanessa's hands trembled. She glanced at Derek, bleeding out on the floor. Then, her eyes dropped to the gun beside her. Grayson smirked. Decide. And then, he walked away. Vanessa's mind raced. She could hear Grayson's footsteps fading. Derek let out a pained groan. Bleeding. Dying. And beside her, the gun. Vanessa stared at it. The world had turned on her. She had spent her life fighting, clawing her way to the top. She had killed for power. She had sacrificed everything. And now? Now she had nothing. Derek's ragged breath filled the silence. Vanessa, he groaned. Help me. She lifted her gaze. Derek's face was pale. Desperate. Weak. Vanessa licked her lips. No. She had been weak before. Not anymore. Her fingers wrapped around the gun. Derek's eyes widened. Vanessa, she pulled the trigger. Bang. Derek jerked. His body went limp. Blood pooled beneath him. Vanessa's hand shook. She exhaled sharply, her chest rising and falling. Then she dropped the gun and walked away, because in the end, she had finally chosen herself. Vanessa walked away from Derek's lifeless body, her heels clicking against the cold marble floor. Her mind was blank. she had killed before. But this was different. Derek had been her partner, her lover, the man she had plotted with, schemed with, betrayed her own husband for. And now? Now he was nothing but a cooling corpse. She swallowed down the lump in her throat, pressing her palm against the elevator button. It was done. But even as the doors slid open, even as she stepped inside and the city lights came into view, she felt it. A presence. A weight. Someone was still watching her. Her fingers twitched toward the gun at her waist, her heart picking up speed. Grayson. He wasn't finished. And Vanessa knew one thing for certain. Neither was she. Grayson sat in his car across from Vanessa's building, his fingers drumming against the steering wheel. Derek was gone. Vanessa? Still breathing. And for the first time, he hesitated. Vanessa had pulled the trigger. Not him. She had ended Derek herself. It was the one thing he hadn't expected. Was that enough? Would time destroy her the way it had destroyed everyone else? Or was one final move necessary? His phone buzzed. A message. Unknown number. It's done. She's alone. Grayson exhaled. His choice was made. He opened the glove compartment, his hand brushing over the cold steel of his gun. One last loose end. One final shot. He stepped out of the car, melting into the darkness. Tonight, it all ended. Vanessa poured herself a drink, her fingers steady despite the storm raging inside her. She was alone now. No Derek. No Landon. No one left to protect her. But she wasn't afraid. Not yet. She lifted the glass to her lips, and then she heard it. A click. A soft, unmistakable click of a gun being cocked. Her entire body froze. Took you long enough. Grayson's voice was smooth, controlled. Vanessa didn't turn. I was wondering when you'd come. A chuckle. You always were good at waiting, Grayson muttered. Not so good at surviving. Vanessa took a slow sip, buying time. You let me walk away once, she said. Why come back? Silence. Then, footsteps. Grayson moved closer, the barrel of his gun now inches from the back of her skull. Because I wanted to see what choice you'd make, he said. Vanessa exhaled. And Grayson tilted his head. You killed Derek. Vanessa smirked. Took care of your problem for you, didn't I? Grayson's jaw tightened. Doesn't mean you get to live. Vanessa finally turned to face him, her eyes dark, unreadable. Then do it. A heavy silence stretched between them. One bullet. One final shot. And it would all be over. Grayson's finger twitched on the trigger. But then he lowered the gun. Vanessa's breath hitched. Grayson stepped back, his voice quiet. You don't deserve an easy death. Vanessa blinked. What? Grayson smiled. Cold. Deadly. You'll live, Vanessa. He leaned in close, his breath hot against her ear. But you'll never escape what's coming. She swallowed. Because she knew he wasn't talking about himself. The world had already turned on her. Grayson stepped back, his silhouette fading into the night, leaving Vanessa alone in the dark, with the weight of everything she had done. And for the first time, she felt something she had never felt before. True fear. Chapter 46. The end of a name. Vanessa sat in the darkness, gripping the edge of the table. The glass of whiskey she had poured remained untouched. Her fingers trembled, her breath unsteady. Grayson was gone, but his words still lingered. You'll never escape what's coming. For the first time in her life, Vanessa Briggs had no control. She had played this game for so long. Manipulated. Betrayed. Won. Now, she was the prey. Her phone vibrated against the table, and she jumped. Her nerves were shot. She grabbed it, her stomach twisting as she saw the message. Unknown number. You're next. Her blood ran cold. The message had no name. No sender. Just 2 words. She shot to her feet, her chest heaving. Who? Who was left? Derek was dead. Tyler was dead. The man who hired them? Dead. But Grayson? Grayson had let her go. So who the hell had sent this message? The shadows in the room felt deeper now. The silence heavier. For the first time in her life, Vanessa didn't feel like a predator. She felt like a ghost. Like she had already died and was just waiting for the body to catch up. Grayson watched from a distance. Vanessa was cracking. Just like he wanted. He sat on a rooftop across from her apartment, his sniper rifle assembled but untouched. He wasn't here to pull the trigger. Not yet. Vanessa's paranoia would destroy her faster than a bullet ever could. She would run, hide, look over her shoulder until it drove her insane. And when she was finally at her weakest, then it would be over. His phone buzzed. A text. Unknown number. It's done. She's spiraling. Grayson smirked. The message wasn't from him. Vanessa thought she only had one enemy. But the truth? Grayson wasn't the only one who wanted her dead. And now? The real ghosts were coming. Vanessa drove through the city, her pulse hammering. She had ditched her phone. She had wiped her accounts. There was no safe place left. The people she had worked for had abandoned her. She had spent her life turning enemies into allies. Now, she was the last piece left on the board. She parked in a quiet lot, gripping the steering wheel. She needed a plan, a new identity, a way out. Vanessa always survived. She would survive this too. She reached into her bag, pulling out a fake passport she had kept for emergencies. The name on it wasn't Vanessa Briggs, because Vanessa Briggs didn't exist anymore. She inhaled sharply. No more running. She stepped out of the car and froze. A man stood across the lot, watching her. Not Grayson. Someone else. Someone from her past. Her stomach twisted. He smiled. Going somewhere? Vanessa's breath caught. Because in that moment, she knew this was never going to end. Vanessa didn't breathe. Her fingers tightened around the edge of her coat, her nails digging into the fabric. The man across the parking lot took one slow step forward, then another. His smile never wavered. You look like you've seen a ghost. Vanessa couldn't move, because that's exactly what he was. A ghost from her past. Not a business rival. Not a hitman. This was personal. I thought you were dead, she whispered. The man chuckled. You thought a lot of things. Her pulse pounded. This couldn't be happening. Not now. Not when she was so close to disappearing. What do you want? She asked, forcing her voice to stay steady. What I've always wanted, Vanessa. The man took another step forward. To watch you burn. 3 years ago, Vanessa sat at a candlelit dinner, sipping red wine. Her smile charming, perfect, practiced. The man sitting across from her was wealthy, powerful, stupidly in love with her. Exactly what she needed. His name was Elliot Hastings. A name that carried influence, money, secrets. And Vanessa had used all of it. For months, she played the part. The perfect woman. The devoted lover. Until the day she took everything he had. Bank accounts wiped. Business deals sabotaged. A ruined reputation. And worst of all, Vanessa had orchestrated the hit that took his brother's life. Elliot had disappeared after that. Vanished. Vanessa thought he had either left the country or put a gun in his mouth. But now, he was standing in front of her. And he wasn't alone. Present-day Vanessa's stomach twisted. She reached slowly into her bag, fingers curling around the cold steel of her gun. Elliot smirked. Don't. Her fingers tightened. Elliot tilted his head. If I wanted you dead, I would have done it already. Vanessa hesitated. Her instincts screamed. Then why are you here? She demanded. Elliot let out a breath, his smirk fading. Because I wanted to see it for myself. Vanessa frowned. See what? Elliot's eyes flickered with something strange. You. Like this. Broken. Scared. Vanessa's jaw clenched. I'm not scared, she snapped. Elliot just chuckled. Oh, sweetheart. He stepped closer, his breath warm against her ear. You should be. A car pulled up behind him. The back door opened, and a second figure stepped out. Vanessa's body went cold. Grayson, standing beside Elliot. His arms crossed. His face unreadable. Vanessa's breath hitched. No, this couldn't be right. You're working together? Grayson's stare didn't waver. Let's just say we have a mutual interest. Elliot smirked. And that interest, he whispered, making sure you never crawl out of the hole you dug for yourself. Vanessa's stomach twisted. This wasn't a hit. This wasn't revenge. This was erasure. They weren't here to kill her. They were here to bury her so deep no one would ever find her again. And for the first time in her life, she had no way out. The cold wind bit into Vanessa's skin as she stood motionless in the dim parking lot, trapped between two men who wanted her erased. Elliot Hastings, a man she had once played, used, and discarded. Grayson Briggs, the man she had thought she could outsmart, the brother of the man she helped murder. She had always been in control, always one step ahead. But not this time. This time, she was already drowning. Her lips parted, her breath uneven. Her mind raced for an escape. "You don't have to do this," she said, keeping her voice even. A last-ditch effort. Elliot let out a low chuckle. "Oh, Vanessa, that's what I told you once, remember? Right before you burned my life to the ground." Vanessa's jaw clenched. She had no defense. Grayson took a step closer, his eyes dark and unreadable. "This isn't personal anymore," he said quietly. "This is justice." Vanessa's pulse pounded. She had survived everything. Landon's death, the fallout, Derek's betrayal. She had clawed her way through the blood, the lies, the chaos. But now, she was standing on the edge of oblivion, and there was nothing left to hold on to. Elliot stepped closer, his breath warm against her cheek. "You're done, Vanessa. You don't get to come back from this." Vanessa's body locked. She had to move. She had to do something. But before she could reach for her gun, she felt it. A sharp prick in her neck. Coldness spreading through her veins. Her limbs went numb. Her vision blurred. She turned, blinking rapidly. Elliot stood there, a syringe in his hand. The last thing she saw was Grayson watching her fall. Then, darkness. 6 months later, a city skyline. Bustling streets. A world that kept moving forward. Vanessa Briggs was gone. Not dead. Just gone. No records. No traces. A woman who had once manipulated the powerful had become nothing more than a ghost. Grayson sat at a quiet cafe, stirring his coffee. The game was over. He had thought he'd feel something. Satisfaction. Closure. But all he felt was a strange, hollow silence. Elliot slid into the seat across from him. Relaxed. Smirking. "She won't resurface," Elliot said. Grayson exhaled. No, she wouldn't. Not after what they had done to her. The world had forgotten Vanessa Briggs. And that was worse than death. Grayson lifted his cup, taking a slow sip. Game over. The end. What? Right. You made it to the end of this story, and let's be honest, that was one hell of a journey. Twists. Betrayals. Revenge served colder than a winter storm. But now? Now I want to hear from you. If you were in Grayson's place, would you have let Vanessa live or finish the job? Drop your answer in the comments. And hey, before you go, let's not pretend like you didn't enjoy every second of this. Tap that like button if this story had you hooked. Subscribe so you never miss another insane story like this. Share this with someone who loves a good revenge thriller. Because trust me, this was just the beginning.